A man remembers a woman not by what she said, but by what he couldn't forget after she walked away. Let that hit your chest for a moment, my friends, because we've been told a lie, a big one, that in order to attract him, to keep him interested, to make him feel that unshakable desire, we need to perform, to be louder, sexier, sweeter, to chase, to convince. But what if I told you the women who leave the deepest marks aren't chasing anything, they're not acting from anxiety, they're moving from presence? And before we go any further, press that like button, hit subscribe, and do it for you, not for me. Because if you've ever felt like you were doing all the right things but still not getting the energy you deserve back from him, what we're about to uncover might just change the game. Hey ladies, imagine this. Look, you're standing in the middle of a busy street, traffic buzzing, people shouting, everyone rushing to be seen, and right in the center of that noise, you close your eyes, say nothing, and light a single match. In a world full of noise, that flame, that quiet confidence, that's what people turn toward. That's what men notice. Because here's the truth. Attraction isn't earned by chasing louder. It's felt through vibration, through stillness, through suggestion. Carl Jung once said, "The unconscious doesn't speak in words, it speaks in symbols." And you, my friend, were never meant to be another voice in his inbox. You were meant to be a feeling he can't explain. You don't need to become someone else to be unforgettable. You just need to stop hiding the version of you that already is. Men don't fall in love with logic. They don't sit around thinking, well, she texted me back quickly and used 3 emojis, so I guess I'll give her my soul. No, they fall in love with energy, with the story you make them feel without even trying, with the way you walk into a moment, slow, calm, certain, and say something that doesn't just land in their ears, it lands in their gut. Let me break it to you straight, Denzel style. You want to be chased? You want him thinking about you when he's brushing his teeth, checking his phone, walking into that meeting? Then stop trying to impress him and start learning how to imprint him. Because this isn't about being liked. This is about being remembered. This isn't about trying harder. It's about knowing deeper. And this isn't about changing your outfit or your laugh or your hair. It's about learning how to use words like a flame, subtle, quiet, but impossible to ignore. Today, we're not diving into cute texts or flirty tricks. We're going somewhere deeper. Because when you understand how to speak the language of emotional memory, when you learn the timing, the tone, the texture of the words that touch a man's soul, you stop chasing attention and start commanding presence. And trust me, my friends, this isn't manipulation. This is magnetism. This is psychology. This is the silent game you play with power, not panic. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to walk away with 3 forbidden phrases, not to catch him, to trigger him, to activate something in his unconscious that makes him feel like you're not just a woman he met, you're a moment he can't forget. So breathe deep, straighten your spine, and let's get into the kind of emotional power they don't teach in school, but that every unforgettable woman knows how to carry like a crown. Number 1, emotional frequency over words. He remembers how you made him feel. A man may forget your name, your dress, even your voice, but he will never forget the way you made him feel about himself when he was with you. Let that settle, my friends, because here's the first truth that separates a woman who gets attention from a woman who owns it. He doesn't fall for how you look. He falls for how you make him feel. You're not in competition with the prettiest woman in the room. You're in competition with the one who leaves a mark when she's no longer there. Imagine this. You walk into a room where music is playing. One song is loud, catchy, full of beats. It makes people nod, maybe even dance a little, but when it stops, they forget it. Just noise. But then there's another song, softer, slower, but it hits you different. It creeps under your skin. Hours later, you're humming it, and you don't even know why. That song wasn't louder, it was deeper. It didn't ask for your attention, it claimed it by resonance. That's you. And yet most women are trying to be the catchy song, louder laugh, quicker replies, longer texts, prettier pictures. Trying to earn his attention through volume, not vibration, and it leaves them exhausted, confused, wondering, why do I feel like I gave everything and still wasn't enough? Because, my friend, you were speaking in logic, while he was listening in energy. Carl Jung said, the unconscious doesn't speak in words, it speaks in image, in emotion, in symbol. which means that when you speak from anxiety, he doesn't hear words, he feels pressure. When you speak from confidence, he feels peace. When you speak from need, he pulls away. But when you speak from presence, he leans in. You ever meet someone and walk away thinking, I don't know what it was, but something about them just stuck with me. That something wasn't charm, it wasn't performance, it was emotional frequency. So let me ask you something real. Are your words filled with clarity, or are they crowded with fear? Are you speaking to connect or to convince? Are you communicating from fullness or secretly hoping to be chosen? Because here's the secret no one told you. Men don't remember women who try too hard. They remember the ones who leave space for him to feel something he didn't know he was missing. The ones who don't try to fill every silence but know how to make silence feel magnetic. The ones who don't need to impress because they've mastered how to impact. Denzel once said, ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Let's flip that. In seduction, noise is a greater threat to impact than silence. You don't win hearts with fireworks. You win them with a fire that stays lit after you leave. So from this moment forward, stop trying to be understood. Start trying to be felt. Don't flood him with reasons. Leave him with resonance. Don't explain your presence. Be the presence. And if you're wondering, okay, but what do I actually say to leave that kind of emotional imprint? Stay with me. Because the phrase we're unlocking next doesn't flatter him. It frames him. It doesn't push, it plants. And when it's said right in the right moment with the right energy, it echoes. You ready for that? Good. Because now we're stepping into one of the most powerful lines a woman can say to a man, not to manipulate him, but to awaken a part of him that no one else has touched. Stay close. It's about to get dangerous in the best way. Number 2, forbidden phrase power, you and me. That could be dangerous. The most unforgettable women don't ask to be remembered. They drop one phrase and become a story he can't stop replaying. Let that one land, my friends, because now we're stepping into real power. Not forced, not thirsty, not I hope he texts back. I'm talking about that kind of presence that doesn't knock on the door. She is the door. And when she speaks, it's not just noise, it's narrative. Here's the first forbidden phrase, and I want you to say it out loud with me, slowly. You and me, that could be dangerous. Now pause. Feel that in your chest? That's not a pickup line, that's a spark. Because when you say you and me, you're not just talking, you're inviting his mind to see something. You're painting a picture where you and him exist together in a different dimension, not in a pleading, please pick me kind of way, in a this could be trouble but the kind you want kind of way. This isn't flattery, it's suggestion. This isn't a compliment, it's a mirror. You're not giving him attention, you're handing him a vision. Now let me make this clear. This phrase only works when it's delivered from a place of playful certainty, not desperation, not doubt. You don't say this to see what he'll say back. You say it like it just slipped out of your soul, like you almost didn't mean to say it, but there it is, hanging in the air, drawing him in. Picture this, you're sitting across from him mid-conversation, talking about food, music, anything light, and then you drop it just like this. You and me, that could be dangerous. Then silence, a smile, a pause long enough for him to feel it, to fill in the blanks with his imagination. Now maybe your mind's already questioning this. Won't I seem too forward? Let me tell you something. Forward is only a problem when it's unearned. But if you've been calm, present, composed, this phrase doesn't scream, it whispers. And men listen to whispers that come wrapped in mystery. Why does this work? Because it bypasses logic. It taps into that Jungian truth. The unconscious is moved by image and emotion. And when you say this phrase with the right tone, you've just turned a casual conversation into a cinematic moment. You didn't just tell him he's interesting, you put him in a scene, and now he can't stop seeing it. And it's not about what you said, it's about what he saw through you. And my friends, that's the difference between being another girl he talks to and being the one he remembers in still moments, wondering, why can't I stop thinking about her? Stay close, because next we're going even deeper, not just in what you say, but in the moment you choose to say it. Because the most powerful words, they don't just sound right, they land right. Number 3, the psychology of symbolism. If you speak like a mirror, he'll never forget his reflection. A symbol doesn't ask to be understood, it demands to be felt. Carl Jung said that. And when it comes to desire, my friends, that's your secret weapon. Because real attraction, it doesn't live in logic. It lives in the shadow, in the emotional fog just beneath his conscious mind. He doesn't fall for what makes sense. He falls for what makes him feel something he can't explain. And that's exactly where you come in. Now listen carefully, because this is where most women get it wrong. They think they need to be crystal clear, obvious. Director, here's how I feel. Do you feel it too? But the feminine doesn't attract by being obvious. She attracts by reflecting something inside him he didn't even know was there. You want to become unforgettable? Don't be the explanation, be the mirror. That brings us to the second forbidden phrase. I want you to hear this like it's not just a line, it's a soft echo across his emotional field. You have a way of distracting me, and you don't even realize it. Feel that? That phrase isn't loud, it doesn't chase, it doesn't flatter, it lingers because it's emotionally ambiguous. It doesn't say, I like you. It says, you're affecting me, but I won't tell you how or why. And that right there, that's what drives a man wild, the not knowing, the uncertainty wrapped in intrigue. This phrase works not because of what it says, but because of what it suggests. It hands him a reflection, but not a clear one. It's the emotional equivalent of a foggy mirror after a hot shower. He sees himself, but he's trying to wipe the glass and get a clearer image. That effort, that curiosity, that pull is what hooks him. You didn't shout it, you whispered it, and it echoed. Now some part of you might want to resist this, but if I'm not clear, won't he be confused? What if he doesn't get it? And here's what I'll tell you. Good, let him be confused, let him wonder, because when a man has to think about what you meant, when he replays that phrase at 2 a.m., trying to decode it, you've already won. You see, clarity is safe, mystery is magnetic. This phrase only works if it comes from centered energy, not from trying to get a response, but from knowing that your presence already did something to him, and you're just letting him feel it. Say it lightly, with a smile, after a moment of laughter, like it just slipped out. And then let the silence follow. Don't explain it, don't chase the reaction, just drop it and walk. Because when a woman speaks in metaphor, not measurement, when she reflects him instead of proving herself, she becomes unforgettable. Not because she said too much, but because she knew the exact sentence that made him feel like he was the only one who could move her without even trying. And up next, we're talking about timing, because you can have the perfect words, the perfect tone, but if you say it at the wrong moment, it dies before it lands. Stay with me, it's about to get surgical. Number 4, timing is the game. Seduction has a clock, and you better know what time it is. The right words at the wrong time are the wrong words. Let that sit with you, my friends, because timing is the secret sauce no one's teaching. You can have the most magnetic presence, the most emotionally rich phrases, the most hypnotic tone, but if you drop it too soon, it feels needy. Too late? Missed. Gone. The window closes. And that's why seduction isn't just language, it's tempo. Seduction has a clock, and you better know what time it is. Think of it like this. You're in a pitch black room, total silence. You strike a match, one single flame. If you light it too soon, no one's ready, eyes haven't adjusted, the light gets lost. But if you wait just long enough for the room to settle, that flame doesn't just glow, it owns the space. That's what timing does. And here's the truth. Most women speak when they're uncomfortable. They fill the silence. They text too fast. They drop emotionally rich phrases during moments of disconnection, when the energy's flat, when he's distracted, when she's nervous and trying to pull him back in. But the art of timing is knowing when to say something, not just what to say. You never drop "you and me." That could be dangerous. While you're sitting in silence over dinner with no chemistry. You never say, "You have a way of distracting me," as after a dry text exchange. You wait for flow, for those natural moments when the energy rises, when there's laughter, eye contact, shared space. That's your window. That's when you strike the match. Jung said that mystery is what awakens the unconscious. Why? Because the unknown pulls. It asks questions the mind can't answer. And nothing is more mysterious than a woman who waits. who feels the moment, who reads the room, who drops her words like heat instead of habit. Let me paint it this way. You're mid-conversation, the vibe is easy, he's laughing, you're leaning in, he's telling you a story, and there's that pause, that little flicker where you feel seen. That's the moment. That's when you slide in. You and me, that could be dangerous. And then nothing. No over-explaining, no giggling, just a pause, just stillness. Let the phrase breathe. That silence, that's not awkward, that's tension. And tension is the oxygen of desire. But if you throw these phrases out while you're nervous, while he's distant, while you're overthinking it, they die. Because the phrase isn't the magic, the moment is. It's not about seducing every second. It's about waiting for the second that's already seductive and then speaking like it's the most natural thing in the world. So from now on, don't rush, don't perform. Pace the connection like a dance. Know when to hold, know when to step in, because emotional mastery doesn't just know what to say, it knows when he's ready to feel it. And next, we're pulling the veil back even more, because it's not just about what he hears, it's about what's underneath what you say. We're stepping into the power of subtext, and if you can master this, your words will start doing something most women only dream of. Stay with me. Number 5, say it with energy, not just words. What you say is noise. What you mean, that's music. And most women speak in noise. The unforgettable ones, they speak in frequency. Here's the truth, my friends, and it's one most people don't want to hear. Men don't remember paragraphs. They remember moments, that flash of something unspoken, that pause that made their stomach turn, that phrase that felt like it wasn't about information, it was about invitation. Because in the game of attraction, the surface never wins. Subtext is everything. You see, most women over-communicate. They explain, clarify, repeat, soften, adjust, and then ask, was that okay? But an emotionally magnetic woman doesn't explain her vibe. She radiates it. She knows that seduction lives not in what's said, but in what's felt beneath what's said. And this brings us to the third forbidden phrase, one that doesn't just stir emotion, it ignites image. Say it with me, slow and steady. If I kissed you right now, I know you wouldn't be able to resist. Now pause. That line, it's not a request, it's not even a suggestion, it's a declaration, a challenge wrapped in velvet. This phrase is powerful because it flips the script. You're not asking for a kiss, you're not hoping he'll lean in, you're not giving him a compliment. You're telling him what would happen if you made a move, and you're saying it with a confidence that makes it believable. But listen closely, this phrase will not work if you say it like you're testing the water, if your voice trembles, if your eyes dart, if you're waiting for a reaction the second it lands. This phrase only works when it comes from a place of emotional certainty. Your tone, low, calm, almost playful, but grounded. Your gaze, direct, but not aggressive. Hold eye contact just long enough for him to feel it. Say it like it's a thought you barely meant to speak aloud, but meant every word. Carl Jung taught us that power lives in ambiguity. The unconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to symbol, to possibility, to those moments that straddle the line between suggestion and seduction. And that's exactly what this phrase does. You don't need to follow it up. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to laugh nervously and say, just kidding. You drop it and let the tension breathe. That silence afterward, that's where the attraction happens. That's where he's stuck between image and desire, fantasy and memory. What makes this unforgettable isn't the kiss, it's the idea of the kiss. The scene you planted, the energy you carried, the fact that you said it like it wasn't a risk, but a truth. So let go of the idea that saying more makes you more attractive. It doesn't. Say less with more meaning. Don't flood him with facts, flood him with feeling. And next, we're dialing in on your greatest weapon yet, not your words, but the energy that walks into the room before you ever open your mouth. Because the woman who learns to align her energy with her message, she doesn't speak to be heard, she speaks to be remembered. Stay with me. Number 6, emotional presence. You're not loud, you're legendary. The women who change men don't raise their voice, they raise the emotional frequency of the room. And trust me, my friends, that difference is everything. We live in a world that's loud, opinions, photos, texts, noise everywhere. And in the middle of all that chaos, the woman who doesn't compete with the noise, but quiets it with her presence, she becomes unforgettable. Because real power doesn't perform, it rests, it owns space without trying, it speaks without raising volume. That's what I call emotional presence. Denzel said it best in his way. Still water reflects clearer than moving waves. Let that image sink in. Still water, calm, grounded, unshaken. That's the energy that mirrors back something deep in a man's soul, not just attraction, recognition, that feeling like she's not like the rest. And here's the truth most women never get told. Your presence begins speaking before your mouth ever opens. So how do you walk into a room? With nervous, fast steps and high-pitched filler words? Or with calm posture, slow rhythm, a quiet kind of elegance that makes people turn without knowing why? Because feminine power, real power, doesn't need to ask for attention. It receives it by existing in full alignment. Jung called this inward mastery, the ability to direct your emotional state instead of leaking it everywhere. And that means don't fidget, don't over-explain, don't talk fast to fill the silence. Instead, own the pause. Stand or sit with posture that says, I don't need to impress you, I enjoy being me. Speak slowly. Let your voice drop just a little lower, not monotone but grounded. Let every phrase have breath. Let silence live between your words like it's not awkward but sacred. Because here's what happens when you do this. Your presence becomes a frequency, not just a face. Men don't know how to describe it, but they feel it. And that feeling, that's what lingers. You've seen her before, the woman who walks into a room and doesn't rush to speak. She listens with her eyes. When she finally says something, the whole energy shifts, not because of what she says, but how she says it. Calm, directed, intentionally placed like a spotlight, not a flashlight. That's not performance, that's possession. That's the woman who knows that don't be the echo, be the source. Because men aren't moved by noise, they're moved by impact. And nothing hits harder than a woman who speaks like she means it, not like she needs it. So the next time you enter a space, don't shrink, don't explain, don't rush, breathe, pause. Speak like your words were meant to shape the air around you. And coming up, we're going into the greatest mistake women make with all this power. Because without this next piece, even the most magnetic words fall flat. Stay with me. Number 7, the dangerous mistake, using power from insecurity. A queen using her crown to beg becomes a jester. Let that land, my friends, because this next part, it's where the game is won or lost. By now, you've learned how to use presence, language, timing, and tone. You've felt the power behind words like you and me. That could be dangerous, and if I kissed you right now. But here's the trap. If you use that power from insecurity, it backfires. Denzel would say it like this: a powerful line in a shaky voice becomes powerless. And he's right, because energy doesn't lie. You can say all the right things, wear all the right clothes, mirror all the moves, but if your intention is leaking desperation, if your emotional state is rooted in fear or lack, then nothing you say will land the way you want it to. Instead of seduction, it becomes performance. Instead of magnetism, it becomes manipulation. You don't use a sword to open a love letter. You don't use a crown to plead. That's what we call emotional hygiene, knowing when you're using your tools with mastery and when you're using them to cover a wound. And here's the truth. Most women who misuse these phrases, they're not bad. They're just hurting. They're speaking from shadow, not from center. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That means if your words are being driven by an unacknowledged need to be liked, chosen, validated, you'll sabotage the very thing you're trying to attract. You'll say, you have a way of distracting me, but your eyes will beg, please notice me. You'll say, if I kissed you right now, but your tone will say, would you still want me? And men feel that. Even the ones who don't know how to articulate it, they feel the imbalance. So here's the real power move. Don't speak until you've cleaned the energy behind the words. Pause and ask yourself, am I saying this to connect or to get a reaction? Am I grounded or am I grasping? Do I already feel worthy Or am I hoping he'll confirm it? Because when you speak from your center, from stillness, from self-knowing, your words cut through like lightning. But speak from need, and it's like throwing sparks into the wind. This is shadow work in action, and it's not always sexy, but it is necessary, because when you know what's driving your voice, you own it. And when you own it, you become untouchable. So remember, the woman who seduces effortlessly isn't fearless. She's self-aware. She doesn't use these phrases as weapons. She uses them as mirrors, not to take power, but to reflect the power she already holds. And coming up next, we're bringing it all home, because none of this works without your energy aligning behind your words. You want to be unforgettable? Then don't just say it, be it. So here's where it all comes together, my friends. You are the fire, the phrase, just the spark. These aren't magic spells, they're emotional signals, and you are the signal tower. Don't say them to be remembered. Say them because you already are. Because the phrase doesn't make you magnetic. You make the phrase unforgettable. And when a woman speaks from her calm, she doesn't chase the moment. She becomes the moment. If this spoke to your